My name is 0614994, but my friends call me 0614994. The first proposal was the 19th of July. That's when I started. Same old people were posting and the rest of the cohort were dipping in and out. And this is one of the problems with non-synchronous systems. It's fair enough, though when someone dips in and then replies in a burst of a dozen messages to fairly old posts, it can be a bit off-putting. The whole of July saw mainly 3 people posting. I know it's the holidays though, but I had my heart set on finishing the proposal and the ILM before the start of the next module, as I didn't want to have to juggle with an overlap. There were severe difficulties in this. None of the other cohort members came on stream really until the module actually started in the 3rd week of September. Whilst I tried to forge ahead of my own, there were still questions that I needed to ask the cohort. The result is that I had to modify the way I deal with this, and I have no other option but to fall in line with the time frame of the rest of the cohort. The implementation of the proposal and ILM module came at a time in my teaching life when I'd already come to the conclusion that certain discipline techniques weren't working. I'd observed other teachers becoming stressed at the levels of punishment they were constantly having to give out. It was making them feel bad, and me too. I'd come to the conclusion that clearly punishing the students wasn't working. We were in week 8 or 9 of the 20-week semester, and the same students were being punished for the same things, mainly misbehaving in class, talking in class, not doing enough homework. If the punishments were designed to stop the students repeating their bad behaviour, they weren't working. All they appeared to be doing was to make the students push even harder against the teacher. This wears the teacher down, and it becomes a daily battle between 2 immutable forces. One particular teacher was extremely strict in class, and I'd observed that the kids were still being punished for the same problems. His overbearing strictness clearly wasn't working. The staff room at school was split into 2 camps, those who were strict and those who were just doing their best. The strict method is how teachers seem to generally have been taught: go in hard, no smiles until Christmas.
Es spricht der Führer!
Something had to change. I decided one day that if the main problem was just the kids talking, why not ignore that problem? I'd posted in first class that it was almost a policy of I see no ships. If that is the only problem, then modify it to make it into a non-problem. I decided to modify this by allowing, even encouraging the kids to talk, as long as they do it quietly. I've since learnt that Cohn, 1996, says we should lose our desire to always be in control in the classroom, and that kids will push against authority. If there's no perceived authority there, then the kids have got nothing to push against. So, we can either have this, or we can have this. Other cohort members appear to be agreeing in some ways. A couple of the LFs also provided anecdotes of when they were teachers too, most of which broadly agreed with my thoughts. I looked into changing the class rules and did some research on that. There's precious little strictly within the EFL world, and most of the mainstream studies encourage allowing the students to make their own rules. This was difficult in my context, as the students follow the Confucian system of being given rules by their elders. I felt that they were not yet equipped to write their own rules. However, I did ask them what rules they'd like, and we did some group work on that, but the rules were inappropriate. For example, do no work, we can eat rice and chicken in class, we can smoke in class, etc. I therefore decided to rewrite the rules myself in the simplest but most positive language I could. Using no negatives, I wrote, do your best, and you can talk, but please do it quietly. That was basically it. I said I'd reward them with free time if they were good, but wouldn't punish them if they were bad. It took a while for this to sink in, as they'd never seen this before. I changed the rules from this, where you have to deal with it like this, or you can do it a different way. Based pretty much on the common sense value that everyone has some good in them. Everyone has some good in everyone has some good in everyone has some good in them. Nearly everyone has some good in them. Nearly everyone has some good in them. I decided that giving praise to my students was an easy way of modifying my teaching style. Research showed me that many proponents of positive behaviour techniques also advise giving praise. Giving praise for things other than just academic work meant that non-achievers could also be praised, not just the academically astute. This had a profound effect on the whole student. It seems obvious now, but when you make students feel good about themselves, not just their academic work, then they're going to behave better. I posted this in first class, and a cohort member replied, "It isn't rocket science," which, of course, it isn't, though it took the reading of research papers to underline and verify these thoughts. I replied in first class that a lot of these things come with age, experience, and being a parent. And it suddenly struck me that many of the teachers we'd lost at our school, who'd cited discipline as being a problem, didn't always have age, experience, or parenthood to draw upon. It has therefore appeared to me that it's my responsibility to point out to them that positive behaviour techniques are another discipline option that they need to consider. Positive praise techniques also bled over into other departments. The discipline department, who survive on a diet of whining teachers, was surprised and happy to receive letters from me praising individual students or the whole class. My positive praise was now making students, myself, and now the school administrators happy. I posted some thoughts in FC, and one cohort member also began using some aspects of positive techniques, greeting the students with a smile and a nice comment. Possibly the most crucial part of the system was the introduction of the preferred activity time. All the students had clear ideas of what they'd like to do in a period of free time, and they were certainly willing to behave to get the free time. It was interesting to note that the students split into 3 distinct groups. One group set about doing homework for other subjects. One group listened to music or played computer games. And one group relaxed, changed their hair or painted their nails. I was initially anxious that the allocation of preferred activity time had to be enough to get the students to be willing to work for it, but not too much, so as not enough teaching was given. It was a fine balance. However, I found that the maximum preferred activity time that could be accrued over a 1-week period was just 30 minutes. And I felt that this was more than made up earlier in the week by students being better behaved. One of the fundamental things I've learned is that there is no magic solution to the problem of poor discipline in the classroom. What works one day for one class may not work the next day. And it isn't all going to be transferable from school to school, class to class. However, if we agree that there is no single magic solution, then we must also agree that an effective teacher needs an array of differing tactics to use as the situation dictates. Positive classroom management is just one of those tactics. However, the benefit of using positive techniques is that the teacher, student, and other ancillary staff end up having a more positive outlook, and this surely will be helpful in retaining staff. If staff are leaving due to poor discipline, then this is a way of showing them how to be happier in themselves, as well as making the students happier.